From the hills of North Carolina to the plains of Nebraska, I'm Mark Hunter with my co-host, Meridith Elliott Powell. How you doing, Meridith?
How long you been practicing that one, Mark?
I literally went and just got a cup of coffee and I came up with that. So what the heck? What can I say?
So you've been having a good week sales-wise?
I've been having a good week. Yeah, we got a couple more deals signed, got a lot of stuff coming, having a lot of good conversations. Stuff is happening out there. What about on your end?
Yeah, I think the same thing too. I just finished filming. We tried to do some live training last week that did not work, so I went back into the studio and finished up some filming this week. But it was so I was back to making sales calls in the car. I hadn't done that one for a while.
So I got to hear. Happened? There were dead people there or what?
No, well, no, it was, we were trying to do some training with masks and with social distancing, and compliance was a big part of the training participating. So you can imagine they were very stringent about the rules, as they should be, but it is hard to follow a trainer that you can't see her mouth moving or she can't do with any challenges. Just right now, virtual may be a better option for a little while.
And I presume when you say compliance, that's not health issues. That was having to do with the industry.
Yeah, it's regulations and making sure that we are wearing masks that are covering our nose, making sure that we are social distancing, making sure that everybody's temperatures are checked. And so I could have told you in a couple of hours on day one this wasn't going to work, but it took us until Thursday to pull the trigger and make the decision. So it's fine. I'm just back in filming it this week, and we're going to go back to virtual, where honestly, I was thinking the other day just how far we have come since March and how comfortable we are with this, and how you really can make things virtually engaging and things like that.
It's funny because I actually had a sales call yesterday morning in a restaurant over breakfast with another individual sitting right across from me. And you know what? It felt great. It felt really good. And we had a number of Zoom calls up to that point in time, but the ability to just sit across from each other, did have to say that I think our conversation went a lot deeper. We've all become accustomed to this whole virtual thing, but there is just something about, being face to face. So if I come down with COVID over the next week or two, I will blame it on this client. I'll blame it 100% on that.
Well, it's interesting. I was just doing a podcast right before we got on here, and one of the questions was, what is something you think meeting planners are going to need to focus on to make meetings even better in the coming year? And one thing I said was the fact that we all need to be conscious now, as we, I almost think 2020 is just going to go down as one of the strangest years of our lives. But 2021, we're going to bring back some things that we really missed. And I think the opportunity at meetings to get together and connect in person is going to be, we're going to need to create more time for that, because I think that people like the virtual option, and we're certainly grateful to have it right now, but we miss connecting in person.
Oh, we do. I'm doing an event this next week. And actually, what's interesting is the company is bringing all the salespeople together to two separate locations. They're not letting them get on an airplane, but they have two offices. And then I'll be in my place, and we're going to do a virtual training session. And but it's interesting hearing it from them. They say, yeah, we could bring everybody together, but we would really upset various spouses and the stress and so forth that we would create. It's just not worth it.
And it isn't. I mean, you never know who around you has a pre-existing condition. You certainly don't want to be a carrier, and we have options to get us through it right now. And I think it's, I was thinking too, like we used to, how in March, I think, I never want to do any of those things. And now I wear a mask and everywhere I go, and I don't think anything about it. It's just what you need to do right now, and not hugging any friends or anything that I see, not even my family. And it's just you just kind of get used to it. We're very adaptive.
Yeah, we're adaptive, but we crave that social interaction. I get on an airplane next Wednesday afternoon. So, if I come down with COVID, I'll just blame American Airlines. Is that the deal? And I'm renting a car. I'll be eating out in a couple of restaurants. So, hey, high risk, but all for the sale.
Things are heading back to normal. Well, should we jump into today's show, Mark?
I think we do, because we got kind of a good show. We got that long. Well, we'll save the question but that's kind of a long question, isn't it? Wow.
It's a really great viewer question, and it's a long one. And I think it's one most of our listeners are going to be able to relate to.
And the topic. And I like the layout of the show. So Micah should hit the opening piece, and then that great voiceover from Daryl Prale of Vanilla. He was fun on the show last week. It was great to have him on.
He was great on the show. We need to have him back on.
Hey, since he's paying the bills, we will. There you go.
That's right.
Micah, hit it.
When we prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
Who has made a prospecting call today?
This is Sales Logic.
Most people refer to VanillaSoft as the solution. It's the solution to ensure sales reps make the right number of attempts for every lead across all channels, including email, social, and the phone. It's the solution to serve the rep the next best lead every single time. You need to get your solution at VanillaSoft.com.
All right. Welcome to Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, we cover the subjects, we get specific on the topics you need to make sales easy, effective, and logical. I'm Meridith Elliott Powell, and I am here with my co-host,
Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Good afternoon, Meridith.
Good afternoon. We got a good show today. Tell us a little bit about some things that we're going to cover, Mark.
Well, we're going to be talking about this whole virtual selling thing. We got a long question that came in. We got a great topic. We got a lightning round. And man, it's kind of a virtual world we live in. But we'll get through it. And you know what? We're learning a lot.
We are. So basically, for anybody who's new, this is the way that the show works. Every single week, we cover three things. Number one is we cover a viewer question. That's right. This is your show. You get to send in. All you have to do is go to saleslogicpodcast.com or just we're going to leave here with a lightning round. It's your return on investment, the strategies, the steps, the things that you need to do to truly get return on investment. So, Mark, should I read this long question? Are we ready to dive into it?
I think you should go ahead and read that long question. But it's good. It's a good one. And it's so real. Right. It's so real. And one more thing. It is so emotion filled. Because as you listen to the question, you're going to hear yourself. You're going to hear yourself in it. Fire away.
All right. So this comes anonymously, but it's a great question from one of our viewers. My husband, who is a manufacturer's rep, has been tremendously impacted since March by this virus and COVID. He depends on travel to make his living. He covers 5 states. He also depends on product availability. He's 90 to 120 days out for some of his products due to China still not being fully ramped up. He does WebEx, Zoom, and daily telephone calls that he starts at 8:30 until 5:30. Right now, his team and his clients are screaming uncle. We need a break from webinars, learning, and so much video time. We have to get our arms around this. How do I keep in front of my customers? How do I keep my team motivated if they are suffering from information overload, video burnout, and Zoom fatigue? Great question.
Welcome to 2020, the year of unknown reality. Yes. I mean, hey, you know what? We are all suffering from this. Here's the piece that I'm doing. I'm just plain picking up the telephone and having a phone call conversation. It's been interesting, but this morning I had probably almost a 2-hour conversation with an individual, and it was on the telephone. And you know what? It was great. My earbuds in. I was able to kind of walk around my office, and I sense he was working from home. He was doing the same thing. No screen time. No worries about, gee, oh, I'm barefoot in shorts. Let's go back to the telephone. That's really what I'm telling people.
I think also you've got to learn to space yourself. It's not realistic to be on video from 8:30 to 5:30. And I know you can say I've got to do this, but I think Mark makes a great point, is really think about what calls have to be video and what don't. If you control the engagement, I mean, Mark and I were set to talk a couple of weeks ago, and he said Zoom or telephone. And I said telephone. I can't turn that video on one more time. I don't want to sit at my desk one more time. So control what you can do. You also need to be scheduling yourself mini breaks, just like you would do in the office. You know, back when we were on the road doing sales calls, you'd be driving from one place to another. But you're going to be more effective as a salesperson if every hour and a half, you just take a mini break. I mean, my husband always laughs at me because what I do is I get up and I work for a couple of hours, and then I'll run downstairs to our home gym, and I might get on the rower for 15 minutes, or I'll go outside and I'll take a 20-minute walk, and then I come back in. But I take these little mini exercise breaks all day long. And I think you need to do the same thing, is do something that allows you to put a little bit of energy back into yourself in order to be able to keep it going.
Yeah, I'll add a couple things to that. Just because you have 1 hour set aside for a Zoom call or WebEx does not mean it needs to take an hour. I've been routinely now taking, it may be a block for an hour, but I'm saying this is going to be done in 45 minutes, just to give myself that extra 15-minute break, just to decompress and do something. I think one of the reasons we're getting this overload of screen time is because we're just staring at this tiny little dot. We're staring at the lens, and it's creeping us out. But I think, again, what it comes back to is just saying what calls have to be on video. Because here's the other thing that I'm seeing. Man, please, mind if I share my screen so I can show you some boring charts? I mean, I was on a call yesterday. In fact, it's interesting. I have a board meeting tonight. It's going to be a 3-hour board meeting. There'll be 9 of us. And the financial person is going to say they want to take the screen, and we're going to sit there and painfully go through the financials for the first 6 months of the year. And it's like, really? Do I really have to do this? Why don't you just email this to me? Let me take a look at it. Let's just have a conversation. Because what's funny is up until about a year before, we were very happy just doing telephone meetings. The board is all over the country, so we physically only get together once or twice a year. But for some reason, because we can do it on Zoom, everybody's doing it on Zoom. It's time to stop Zoom, period.
Well, I think you're making a really great point there. And that is that what can you do with people? I mean, really, as a sales professional, your clients are going to love you. If you could send them things ahead of time that they could review so you don't spend time on that call. I think Mark's making such a great point that every Zoom call, because Zoom defaults to an hour, and I'm not sure what and GoToMeeting and all of those do. I don't know where their defaults are, but because it defaults for an hour, it gets put on your calendar for an hour. And really ask yourself, does it need to be on there, for that amount of time? I would say the other thing, and I've really started to do this, is really ask, do you have to be on there for the entire time? I was doing a call Friday of last week, and I was part of the sales presentation. And I just spoke with, I let him know that I had back-to-back calls all day long. I would love to get on and share the part that they needed me to pitch, but I didn't need to sit through the hour and a half call. So I came on at the beginning. He put me first in the schedule, and I was finished in 12 minutes. And I think the theme that we're getting at is we have far more control over things than we realize we have over things. And you're on all day long with clients. Well, as desperately as you want off video and as desperately as you want some time back in your schedule, they want that too. So if you can be the sales professional who's stepping to the plate and taking a little bit of time, with that, you're not only going to feel better and stress a whole lot less, but you're also going to strangely get some competitive advantage with that. So take a little bit of charge with your schedule.
I think that is well said. And with that, we should jump into the topic of the day, which is really framed around the question: how do you make virtual sales calls, virtual sales presentations? How do you make them compelling, interesting, and what's the tools that you use to move prospects to close? Mayor, jump in. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think first of all, you've got to start with the basics, right? And the basics are, do you really understand how to use the technology? Do you know to look into the camera? Do you know, have you done everything you need to do ahead of time to make sure that your customer understands how to, get onto the link and what they're doing? But you have to be able to use the tools, and you have to be able to appear competent when it comes to using the technology.
And along with that, please have the camera up at eye level. I mean, how many times have you been on a call where it's clearly the camera is down, on their laptop, on their desk, and there's a reason why eye contact is so key. So put the camera and have a decent audio. People get hung up on the backgrounds, and you and I have completely different backgrounds here for those of you who are watching this live, and that's fine. But I think we owe it to people not to have a dysfunctional background. I was observing a sales call, and salesperson was talking with a customer, and the whole time behind the person's or kind of on a side table, there were two cats wandering around on the top. And I get it. It's work from home. I get it. It's BFH, buying from home. And I understand you're going to have a kid problem occasionally and a dog or something like that. But, you could probably put the cats on the floor. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I also think that you have to really be paying attention to the non-verbal clues. I mean, one of the beauties of virtual is that we do have some of the advantages that we have there in person, is that you can read the body language. So whether the customer wants to make some small talk and talk about the picture of their kid playing football behind them, or whether they would appreciate it if you would just get to the point and stay focused on the problem at hand. So you've got to really be reading those nonverbal clues and paying attention to what they want and adjusting your sales call, your virtual sales call, to really work for them. This is something that drives me crazy. I am a get to the point person. When I am on a sales call, I don't want you to ask how I'm doing. I don't want you to ask how my weekend was. I don't want you to ask how COVID is impacting me. I mean, I'll take one question at the front, how are things going, Meridith? My answer is great, which is your signal get to the point. Now, other people are completely different. If you asked my husband how he was doing, he would spend the next 25 minutes telling you everything about the fact that we have done in the last week. We're different. And virtual still allows you to pick up those clues, and you need to pay attention.
You hit on something there. Don't forget, you still have all the in-person clues that you can pick up. Leverage them. Leverage them with your personality, by your tone, by your pitch, by words per minute. You can still put all of that voice inflection into it. And I think you said something good. You ask somebody a question when they say great. That is your signal. They really don't want to go any deeper. But if they do, if they run off on something, then I'm naturally going to ask them a follow-up question on that, because it demonstrates that I care. But here's the other piece, though. Don't allow the conversation to get so sidetracked and think that time is not of the essence. I think people working from home are more time-starved than ever. They are more time-starved. And they're also finding themselves, this is what I find, when I get somebody on a Zoom call, we have so many of these events happening every day that we're literally going from this topic to this topic to this topic. You need to be prepared to take 20 seconds to bring them up to speed as to what the expectation is for the meeting. When I start off a Zoom call, I'll sit there and say, hey, this should only take about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Here's what we're going to cover. Good. And make sure they buy in on that. And I have found that gives a lot of relief to people that say, okay, go.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at really is that we need to probably plan the calls more than we've ever planned them before. I've got 30 minutes, and I know that I'm going to be talking to, Susan Schumacher, and Susan Schumacher is a relationship focused person. So I am going to get on there and ask Susan, how her last bike ride was, and if her husband's been able to go back into the office, yet, and what's happening with her aging mother. But I've still got to keep that on track. I've still got to keep it moving. In a way. And so I've got to plan it and allow for that, and really think through how you're going to get the call to where it needs to go in the allotted time.
And if there's a next step meeting, that has to be arranged, don't sit there and say, oh, I'll send out a Zoom invite. No. Ask them, what method would you prefer we use for the next one? Don't necessarily assume because your first call was a Zoom call or your first call was a WebEx that your next one is going to be. Because again, they may say, you know what, let's just do it by way of telephone. That's it. Hey, we're going to run out of time here pretty soon. And I know we got kind of a lightning round. So we should kind of jump into that lightning round. But we should just remind people that if you got questions, you jump out to Sales Logic Podcast, leave us a question, or go out to social media and just use that hashtag Sales Logic. And it's amazing. We find them. So let's see the lightning round. Let me pull up that lightning round question here. There it is. What are, of course, it fits. What are top tips for selling virtually? Go.
Number one is that you need to plan the call. You need to have an agenda. You need to know what you're going to talk about, and you need to share that agenda with the caller. Do as much ahead of time as you can possibly do.
I'm going to say, make sure the camera's at eye level and you have a good audio.
Yeah, and be professional. You need to get dressed up just as if you were on a call. Be conscious of your background, and make sure that you are presenting in the way that you want to present.
If you're going to share your screen, make sure you're set up to share your screen. Too many times what happens is when people go to share screen, there's other stuff up on their screen that maybe you don't want that prospect, that customer to see. Make sure you have that set up in advance.
Mark, I know this is lightning round. I love that one, but I was having a screen shared with me, and the person forgot they were sharing the screen, and they started answering email. So you've really got to be conscious of what's in front of you. I'm also going to tell you to be mindful of the environment that your client is selling is buying from, is listening to you from. I mean, if they're used to being in an office with a lot of people versus now they're at home and they're taking care of 2 kids, and their significant other is home trying to work too. Try to be mindful of what type of environment they're in and adjust what you need to do for that.
Which means you need to create a little more flexibility in the schedule, because if they say they need to take care of something, it's okay. Excuse them. Let them take care of it. Quick piece tape. Wrap this thing up here. Well, no, I'll let you do one more after this. And that is, make sure you know what is the defined method with which you're going to connect. How many times have you said, oh, there's a meeting on your calendar? Well, is it phone? Is it whatever? Make sure you're clear in the invite how you're going to connect.
Yeah. And I would say I'd say really keep it tight. Really be able to, people don't want to stare at a screen and listen to you for a long time. So make a point and make lots of opportunity for engagement where they get to speak. Don't sell at them, sell with them.
Well, with Meridith saying keep it tight, I guess that means we should start wrapping up the show. So I'm going to sit here and say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
We'll see you next week.
Most people refer to VanillaSoft as the solution. It's the solution to ensure sales reps make the right number of attempts for every lead across all channels, including email, social, and the phone. It's the solution to serve the rep the next best lead every single time. You need to get your solution at VanillaSoft.com.